In order, Mr. Burmer, would you please lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
No, sir.
Forrester, are there any additions or adjustments to the agenda?
We do have some adjustments tonight and then some additions. So first of all, the dispatch annual update to council number 8, we're going to move up to council presentations. And then item 6 under council business, the proclamation for Foster Care Month. That will have a 6A, which will be a proclamation for Vietnamese American Remembrance Day, sponsored by Mayor Beebe. And then a 6B, which will be a COACT letter of support that is being sponsored and presented by Councilor Scott Smith. And then I think Jared may have an announcement as well.
Yes, Council President Jared Reed, City Attorney for the record. I just wanted to announce to City Council as well to the audience that we have here tonight. We intended originally to have a public hearing tonight in regards to some legislative amendments to our comprehensive plan, including the adoption of a new economic opportunities analysis. There was a public notice that went out earlier in the month. However, we had to move that public hearing to April 28th because our notice in the newspaper didn't get in, and so it didn't get published timely enough. And so we removed all our public notices. So I'm not sure if anyone in the audience is here for that tonight, but it is going to be heard on April 28th, and it will be properly noticed.
Thank you. All right. The consent agenda was circulated of the regular meeting brief from March 24th. Are there any questions or concerns?
I move to approve the consent agenda as provided.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Again, any last minute questions or concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Visitors, appearances, and requests. Is there anyone that would like to speak this evening to the council? And if so, please come to the podium and speak your piece. First, identify yourself, name and address for the record. And there is a 3-minute limit.
I will keep it brief. Good evening, council. Name's Steve Holiday, longtime Prineville. Just something I wanted to share with you guys that something I've been meaning to share with you since August of last year. My wife and I dropped our daughter off in Texas for college, and we made our way back home and kind of took our time. And one of the stops that we made was in Las Vegas, Nevada. Not Las Vegas, Nevada, Las Vegas, New Mexico. Sorry, there's, and it is almost identical size to Prineville. I mean, within probably 300 people, according to the sign. We pulled in, got our hotel room. Well, let's go get something to eat. And we were driving down Main Street. I'm like, oh goodness sakes, there's a lot of homeless around here. And then there's just drug use going on. And this is 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And we just see people in like what would be menswear's little cubby in their front entrance, kind of making their camp for the night. We go get dinner. The food was delicious. Those New Mexico chilies are fantastic. Our wait staff was high. As we're leaving, we go back to the hotel. There's people slumped over in the alcoves of the businesses. And it just made me think of, I'm like, this is the same size as Prineville. And it is just, you could smell marijuana everywhere. And it just, I appreciate Prineville. I appreciate everything you guys are doing for Prineville, because to see the other side of what could be, we're very lucky to what we have. And so I just wanted to thank you guys, the council, for all the work that you're doing, because it could be a hell of a lot worse for all of those who are negatives and, oh, Prineville's, it could be a lot worse. Just be thankful for what you have. So I got a minute left, but there you go. I just wanted to thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank the police department as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Steve. All right. Is there anyone online that would like to speak? Thank you. All right. Under council business, we have a dispatch annual update. Katie.
Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, Mayor, well, not Mayor tonight, I guess, but City Council. For the record, I'm Katie Kemper, Public Safety Communications Director for the City of Prineville. And I'm grateful for a few moments of your time tonight to share some highlights about our 911 center here in Prineville. This week also happens to be National Public Safety Telecommunications Week, which occurs annually during the second week of April. So this year it's the 12th through the 18th. And this designation is meant to honor and recognize the important work done by the true first responders, our 911 staff. First, I'd like to offer you an overview of our operation along with some insights of the duties of a dispatcher or call taker. So I've prepared a few slides to help illustrate some of the material I'd like to talk about. And at the end of the presentation, I'm happy to answer any questions. Then to conclude, I have a few special guests that I'd like to introduce you to. So we are one of 40 PSAPs, or Public Service Answering Points, in the state of Oregon. Our jurisdiction is all of Crook County, so geographically nearly 3,000 square miles encompassing Prineville, Pal Butte, Post, and Paulina. And we're responsible for answering all the 911 calls as well as non-emergency phone lines for the whole jurisdiction. So that involves gathering information to determine appropriate responses, and we send all the police, fire, and medical resources for emergency response in the county. So these are the public safety agencies that we dispatch for. So obviously Prineville Police Department. Crook County 911 is a division of Prineville Police Department. So we are city and police department employees, but we also provide our patrol units their dispatch services, as well as Crook County Sheriff's Office and Crook County Fire and Rescue. So again, that's all the police, fire, and medical resources we have in our county that are under our jurisdiction as the PSAP. So dispatching these resources involves the call taking aspect of prioritizing calls for service to determine an acuity, also coordinating with our responders to ensure a quick and safe response. And if there's multiple incidents at once, the information that we're gathering is what they're relying on to determine, how to respond and which to go to first and things like that. So the info that we're gathering makes a difference when it comes to, whether they're deciding if it's a 1 or 2 man response, if they need to go lights and sirens or not, and so forth. So while we're gathering that information, we're also managing all the radio transmissions with our field responders. Our number one priority is officer safety. So we maintain that by logging responder activity with timestamps and locations. We always know exactly where our units are and what they're doing out in the field. So this is a look at a dispatch console. We have 4 main consoles out on our floor. This is actually an older picture. I think I have a laser pointer here. Yeah, there's actually an additional monitor here now with a supplemental mapping resource on it. But here you see 5 monitors. These 2 up at the top are our call handling software. So this screen here is where calls come in with some pretty detailed location information, anything from the cell tower that the call's coming from to call, kind of, I guess you'd say caller ID type of information. This one here is our spatial command and control mapping resource that pairs with our call handling software. And then down here, you see our CAD, or computer aided dispatch screen. So this is where we're entering that call information. So we're coding the call with a call type and all the priority information in there. We're also querying records. So anything from DMV returns to vehicle returns, if there's protection orders on people involved, warrants, things like this. And that's also where we're inputting all of the log information for our responders. Here on this bottom right screen, you see our CAD map. We have several maps that we utilize regularly. This particular one has AVL, which are our automatic vehicle location information. So it's basically like the GPS location for our units in the field. So when we plot a call here in our CAD map, we can see where they are in relation to the call. Finally, this screen is our dispatch radio console. So all of our radio resources are there. There's different buttons that we push for different noises that our responders hear that tell them the nature of the response. We've got two main channels, one for law and one for fire, but then within those, there are several frequencies depending on geographically where our units are in the county. So we're switching back and forth between those. Here you'll see there are several keyboards. So this one goes to the CAD computer, and there are also a few different systems running behind that screen at any given time. Things like our state and national databases, our local records management systems, all kinds of stuff going on Windows behind that. So this mouse and this keyboard go with these two screens. This one here goes with these upper screens. It's got its own mouse as well, and then a custom keypad for call handling. There's another mouse here that goes with our radio console, and then down underneath here is a foot pedal that we use to talk on the radio so that we don't have to take our hands off of the keyboard when we're typing. A couple speakers here. When we're on the phone talking to a caller, our units that are talking to us on the radio are coming out those speakers at the same time. So when we're responding back to our units on the radio, we're automatically muted to our caller, so they would never know that we were also talking on the radio at the same time. But during those times, we're hearing our caller in our ear as well as our units in sometimes both speakers at the same time. So needless to say, there's a lot going on and a lot of multitasking involved. So just a glimpse of what it takes to work at 911. Needless to say, it's not for everyone, and these are some of the qualities that we've identified in candidates that are successful in the role. Like you saw in the console, there's a lot of multitasking involved. Additionally, it's important that our staff are able to stay calm under pressure, have a sense of urgency, and ability to focus during potentially life or death emergencies. So we have to be ready for anything from, my baby's not breathing to I've been in a car accident and I'm injured. I think I'm having a heart attack. You never know what the next call is going to be about. And then again, with a sense of urgency, this is a line of work where seconds do literally matter. So there's very little room for hesitation when we're going from call to call with these types of situations. As I mentioned, a high level of accuracy is required. There's no margin for error in our line of work. And then adaptability. So there's no comprehensive if this, then that for every type of circumstance that we encounter. While we have our standard operating procedures and lots of policy that goes with them, there's just no way to make a rule book for every single type of thing that, we might come upon. So there's a high degree of discretion and split-second decision-making involved. So we need to be adaptable. And then equally importantly is resiliency. So that could be anything from like a day-to-day resiliency, going from a CPR in progress call to your more routine, barking dog. And then the next line that rings is a medical emergency. So being able to transition from those things, smoothly and calmly, but also long-term resiliency that comes with the vicarious trauma and kind of compassion fatigue that builds over time with this type of role. So wellness is really important for our staff. So I just wanted to offer a quick glimpse of the difference between a call taker and a dispatcher. The call taker classification is somewhat new to our agency. So as you can see here, most of the things that a dispatcher does, a call taker also does. The only exception is talking on the radio. So they're both a call taker and a dispatcher in our agency are processing both 911 and non-emergent calls, documenting that information, providing safety instructions and admonishments. Our call takers just aren't talking on the radio at the same time. A little bit about the hiring process. So it's pretty involved. It can take up to 3 months, give or take. starting with an application screening for minimum qualifications. Those candidates then move on to what's called critical skills testing. So this is a pretty involved computer test that has several categories, anything from typing to multitasking, data entry, map reading. Candidates that are successful in the skills testing move on to an oral board interview where all of our user agencies are represented. So we usually have a board of at least 3 people, usually somebody from the fire department, the police department, the sheriff's office, so that all of our user agencies are represented. Top candidates from oral boards move on to a background investigation. Then there is an executive interview. After that, there's also a state-required drug screen, physical, medical, and a psych eval. So all of these things can take a number of months before even a conditional offer is made to candidates. And then here's just a look at what their training life looks like. And this is representative of the dispatch classification. So they start with a week of orientation where it's a lot of paperwork and tours and some ride-alongs, signing policy and procedure. And then from there, they move on to what's called phase 0. It's a classroom phase. So we do kind of an in-house academy where they're learning all of the fundamentals and foundational knowledge, but it's not hands-on yet. So there's lots of memorizing codes and terminology and getting certified in different resources that we have access to. So this is a number of weeks before they get to the hands-on actual call taking part of it. And even that within that phase 1 of call taking is kind of in baby steps. So they'll start with just taking non-emergent lines and then progress to 911 lines. And even then it's kind of one thing at a time before they progress to a point where they're multitasking multiple lines at a time, triaging calls where might have to put one on hold to prioritize another, and bounce back and forth between multiple situations. So once they build a solid foundation in call taking, they move on to phase 2, which is just radio without the phones. Once they're through that radio phase, phase 3 is arguably the hardest part of putting it all together. So back to, the screen with the console where noises are coming at you from all directions. You've got a caller screaming in your ear, your unit's asking for things and giving you information on your speakers, and you're having to accurately document all of that information in real time. That's what they're working on in phase 3 before they move on to a shadow phase, phase 4. And this is kind of a period where it's like the trainer pretends they're not there. It's very hands off for the trainer, and the trainee is just demonstrating that they have the competency needed to be solo and become certified in their role. So this whole process for a dispatch trainee, typically at least 6 months, 6 to 8 months is normal for successful candidates. So when you add that to the typical 3-month hiring process, you're looking at 9 to 12 months from the date that somebody submits their application to the date that they're solo and certified and filling a vacancy on our schedule. So to conclude, here are a couple stats from calendar year 2025. Last year, we handled a total of 54,512 calls, of which 9,084 were 911 calls. Our non-emergency lines were at 34,584. We placed 10,819 outbound calls. There were 159 text to 911 sessions, so not messages, but like dialogues. And then of those calls, you can see on the right side of the screen there, the incidents that were generated totaling over 40,000. So 19,000 some odd for the police department, 15,000 for the sheriff's office, and 4,551 for Crook County Fire and Rescue. So just a little quick math. Most of last year, we were staffed with 5 certified solo dispatchers. So if you take that 54,000 and divide it amongst them, that's over 10,000 calls that each individual is handling that all have direct contact with members of our community. So pretty remarkable job that they're doing, and I'm really proud to have the team that we have. So before I introduce our special guest tonight, can I answer any questions?
Thank you for saying how many dispatchers you had. That was going to be my question. Saw the numbers up there. How many were actively doing that?
Yep. Yeah, last year for most of the year, we were at 5 trained certified solo, which definitely leaves some vacancies in our budgeted staffing level, which we're moving in the right direction on. But as you can see with, how long the training takes and the timeline of just the hiring process in and of itself, it takes some time to fill those vacancies. And we also only have so many trainers to pair up with those trainees. So we're getting there, but
Other questions? Thank you.
thank you. And now just a couple more minutes of your time. So it is now my privilege to introduce the three newest members of our Kirk County 911 staff. These three behind me have just returned to the agency after graduating from Basic Telecommunications Academy on Friday the 10th, this last Friday. We are one of the handful of states that requires a state level certification for dispatchers and call takers. Not all states have that program, while they do for police. So they've just completed that process and are getting back on the desk, picking up where they left off with their in-house training. And as I mentioned, all emergency call takers and dispatchers in the state are not only required to complete that 3 weeks of basic training, but another requirement in Oregon is for them to adhere to a formal code of ethics to which they must swear or affirm to before they can be certified. So tonight we'd like to invite you to bear witness to this formality and help us celebrate this milestone. So first, please allow me to introduce Aubrey Robbins. Come on up. Aubrey was hired as a dispatcher on January 5th of this year. She comes from a background in the banking industry, having most recently worked as a home equity loan officer at a credit union. She also just completed her associate's degree the week prior to leaving for academy. She's been very busy. Aubrey's joined here tonight by her parents and her boyfriend. Thanks for coming out to support. You can go ahead and stand over here. Right in the middle. Yeah, you can stand whoever you want. You can face the council. Yeah.
Oh,
Next, we have Ashley English. Come on up. Ashley started with us on March 2nd in the role of public safety call taker. Before being hired at 911, she was an electrician. Ashley is a Prineville native, I believe having been born and raised here in our community. You're a lifer. Yeah. You can go ahead and stand by Aubrey. And then finally, we have Grace. Grace Lear also began her 911 career on March 2nd in the role of public safety call taker. And she had spent the last few years in the service industry and was also a certified esthetician. In attendance tonight in the audience, we have Grace's mother and grandmother. Go ahead. So now I'd like to read the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training, or DPSST's Telecommunicators Code of Ethics, which memorializes the commitment that these three have made. Afterwards, they will quickly sign there. So the Code of Ethics goes, as a telecommunicator, I regard myself as a member of an important and honorable profession. I will recognize the positive relationship between good physical and mental conditioning and the performance of my job. I will perform my duty with efficiency to the best of my ability. My conduct and my performance of my duties will be accomplished in an honest manner, contributory to my fellow workers and observant of the laws of the city, state, and country. I will not, in the performance of my duty, work for unethical advantage or profit. I will recognize at all times in my duty that I am a public safety employee and that ultimately I am responsible to the public. I will give the most efficient and impartial service of which I am capable of at all times. I understand the importance of courtesy and will maintain it as my reference point in all my duties. I will regard my fellow telecommunicators with the same standards as I maintain myself. I share a reciprocal affinity and obligation with my fellow telecommunicators, my administration, and my agency.
Mhm.
Congratulations. Thanks again for being a part of that with us tonight and for your time.
You for your
Thank you.
commitment, ladies.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have consideration of Republic rate increase. And this is a public hearing. I will open that public hearing at this point.
Thank you, Council President. On tonight's agenda, the council will conduct a public hearing based on Republic Services' request for a rate increase of 3.5%. I believe they're here presently to make that presentation. This is pursuant to the franchise agreement that the city of Prineville has with Republic Services. Pursuant to that agreement, the franchisee may file an application for an adjustment in rates. In the scheduled public hearing, which is tonight, the city shall act upon that request for a rate adjustment. Rates shall be changed by resolution of the city council. So we'll have the public hearing tonight, and then we'll have a resolution later in like 2 weeks from now, or even perhaps 4 weeks from now. It depends on how much information the council requires. Republic may increase each category of its maximum rates for service by a percentage not greater than the lesser of the last reported U.S. Consumer Price Index of water, sewer, trash services. That percentage was 4.22%. In determining the appropriate rate to be charged by the franchisee, which is again Republic, the city council may consider any or all of the following. One is the cost of performing the service provided by the franchisee. The second is the anticipated increase in the cost of providing this service. 3 is the need for equipment replacement and the need for additional equipment to meet service needs, compliance with federal, state, local laws, ordinances, and regulations, or technological change. 4 is the investment of the franchisee and the value of the business, and the necessity that the franchisee has a reasonable annual rate of return of revenues in the range of 8% to 12% with a target of 10%. Return on investment should be determined based upon generally accepted accounting principles. Rates charged in other cities or similar size and surrounding jurisdictions for similar services. The public interest in assuring reasonable rates to enable the franchisee to provide efficient and beneficial service for the residents and other users of the service. The local wage scales, cost of management facilities, and landfill and disposal of fees or charges. Any profit or cost savings resulting from recycling and any additional cost resulting from recycling or any other factors affecting the cost of providing the service.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to the council?
This on?
Give it a tap.
Can you hear me? Okay, perfect. All right, good evening, council. Thank you for having us tonight. For the record, my name is Erica Heitzma. I'm the general manager for Republic Services of Central Oregon, which includes the city of Prineville. I'm with Dan Strandy, who is our finance manager for our market, and then our municipal manager, John Halen. So tonight we're going to review our 2025 year-end report. To start us off, our first slide. Is there anyone in particular?
There you go.
Oh, thank you. So sorry. Okay, our first slide is a franchise overview. So we have the franchise contract for the city of Prineville to provide trash and recycling service to the community, which includes trash, commingled recycling, yard debris, and food waste. Next, I wanted to quickly review our service. This is an important priority for us and for the community. So these two graphs represent our year-over-year service. So looking at 24 compared to 25, our commercial missed services have improved from a year-over-year perspective, as well as our residential total services have improved from 24 to 25. Like I said before, this is an incredibly important priority for us, and we know the community as well. So our service focuses continue to point towards staffing and employee retention. Employees Our employees drive every aspect of our business, so this is the most important thing. We want to make sure our drivers have the resources necessary to do their job appropriately. We're always focused on ensuring we have good communication to our customers and then providing the education and resources to our call center who takes any calls from the community. Okay, next we're going to go over our 2025 financial results, and then we're also going to look at our 2026 projections. So first, I'm going to review our 2025 results. I'm going to go in a little more detail than you hear on the screen, but looking at the very top line, our revenue. So we had $3.1 million in revenue in 2025. This represented a 6% growth from 2024. Our total cost of operation, the second bold line item, is $2.7 million. This represented a year-over-year reduction in costs of $44,000. So I'm going to review what comprises all of those different costs for you. So the first cost category is our disposal fees. Disposal fees represented $677,000 in 2025. Our direct labor cost was $701,000, and this cost is associated with our frontline wages, benefits, and payroll taxes for our employees. Third cost category is our equipment costs, and that's $161,000, and that's primarily driven by our fuel expense. We also have maintenance costs associated with our equipment. That cost category totaled $255,000. We actually saw a reduction from a year-over-year perspective of $41,000. Our insurance costs, which primarily represents any claims that we have, we had a total cost of $124,000, so we actually had a reduction in total insurance by $18,000. Our depreciation of our equipment was $179,000, and there was a $3,000 reduction from a year-over-year perspective. We also have call center costs. This totaled $80,000 in 2025. This cost category includes costs associated with the call volume, and then costs associated with technology infrastructure, IT support, supervision, and overhead. Next cost category is our area and corporate allocation. This totaled $256,000. There's a $14,000 reduction in this category from a year-over-year perspective. And then we have our management and administrative labor costs. This totaled $36,000. And then finally, the final cost category is our franchise fees, which is $93,000. And this is what totals our $2.7 million in total operating costs. So for 2025, our franchise income was $343,000, and our contract margin was 11%. So I know that was a lot of information to go over our costs in 2025. I want to pause here to see if there's any questions before I turn it over to Dan to talk about our 2026 projections.
Any questions?
No? Okay. Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. The projection component is a little more difficult because you're not talking about a real number, it's a subjective number. We've tried our best to be very transparent in our process with staff so they could see our train of thought. I'll take a very high level on our approach and kind of summarize for you. General inflation is running a little over 3%. I think the most recent was 3.6. That just came out recently. The ask that we're having a component of 1.5 is simply because not all of that is going to be applicable. And so the 1.5 is, I think we feel very reasonable, somewhat conservative. I do want to speak to fuel for a moment because at the time in which we built the pro forma and presented it to staff, something changed in the world. And I just wanted to make it very clear we're not asking for a change in the request based on what's going on over in the Middle East. Basically, the concept that we're taking is anytime a cost increase is deemed temporary, the company will just absorb it. It shouldn't be passed on to the ratepayer, only passing on to the ratepayer those costs that we know are going to inflate. We are projecting actually a 2% decline in fuel in our projection. So let's hope that everything calms down overseas and this runs its course rather quickly. But I wanted to make very clear, we're not asking anything for fuel. The last component is the disposal increase at Crook County Landfill, increasing from 69 to 73. And that represents a little bit more than 1.5 or a little bit more than 1% of the overall ask that we're requesting. Any questions?
Did that increase happen in January, or when did the increase occur?
It will become effective on July 1st. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Okay. And then the last slide is just a quick review of 2025 engagement activities. If we can turn over to the next. Oh, that's me again. I'm sorry. I keep looking. I'll get the hang of it one day. But the 2025 community engagements that we were involved in the city of Prineville and Crook County. So I'm going to turn it over to John to quickly touch on that.
Yeah, 2025 was a big year for us. Of course, there was the Crooked River Roundup. We supplied toilets and waste services as well as financial contribution. And then, of course, there's the Crook County Trap Shoot, the Rural Oregon Community Foundation Roundup. We also, the Ochako Creek cleanup. We did booths for the garden event that we're actually redoing again this year, giving away compost. We partnered with the Crook County 4-H during the roundup and donated to local 4-H groups. And a lot of this just comes from the fact that, we have over 20 employees that live and work here, and we are members of the community and we want to give back. And so this kind of effort on our part all comes from a desire to be part of the community and to show the community that we care. We're really looking forward to seeing the fireworks this year, which we also contribute to because who doesn't love fireworks? Are there any questions about our 2025 involvement? No. Great.
And that's all we have for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Laurie Antrim Hooper.
Good evening, Council. Lori Hooper Antrim, the City Finance Director for the record. In the council packet was a staff report, and I hope you had a chance to read it. Republic has requested a 3.5% rate increase, primarily driven by inflation and increased disposal costs at Crook County Landfill. As required, staff reviewed the request to determine whether the proposed rates are just, reasonable, and adequate to support continued service. After reviewing the financial information, staff finds that the request is generally well supported. However, based on our analysis, staff is recommending that council approve a rate increase not to exceed 3%. At a 3% increase, Republic continues to achieve a reasonable operating margin that is consistent with industry norms, and staff sees no risk to service levels or operational stability. A 3% adjustment reasonably reflects anticipated cost increase without over-recovering from ratepayers. Staff also considered affordability and the cumulative impact of utility costs on residents and businesses. A 3% increase balances cost recovery with ratepayer impact and is consistent with the city's historical approach to rate adjustments. Based on the review, staff is recommending council approve a 3% rate increase for Republic Service effective July 1st, 2026. And I would be happy to answer any questions. Great. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I would like to open it up to the community or anyone who would like to speak to the request for the rate increase. And if so, please come to the podium and identify yourself. Is there anyone online?
He said nobody's raising his hand.
Thank
Or
you.
their hand.
Okay. Well, ultimately, the council needs to come up with a suggestion for a resolution or rebuttal to the request for the rate increase.
Are you prepared, you'll want to close the public hearing prior to debate?
Well, everyone had an opportunity to speak, so yes, I will close the public hearing. Thank you.
Yeah, Steve, I met with staff the other day and went through all this with them, and I think a 3% increase would be justified, and it keeps us within the range, and I think it fits well.
Other comments or questions or concerns?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I've been hearing a lot of things from my constituents about a pretty consistent pattern of rate increases, and I kind of share those sentiments with them. I know I voted against rate increase in 2024, I believe. I don't think it's appropriate right now with just the overall general cost of living in this state right now that people are trying to struggle through with high fuel prices and everything else. Republic's a $65 billion company. And I don't think a 3% from Prineville is going to hurt them that much. So I'm at this point not supporting any rate increase.
Okay. Any other concerns or comments?
Support the 3%. I think when you look at the total cost of operation and the different things that come about, and as I understood it, previous owner didn't keep a pattern of growth like they maybe people think they should have. And I think that what they're doing is pretty good work considering all the factors they have to deal with. And if they're allowed, of course, according to what our city attorney said, they can go as high as a 4.22. Am I correct?
Yeah, the franchise agreement provides they can increase their rate up to the CPI, which I mentioned, which both the recommendations being provided are below that amount. If they ask to be above that, it's a different process. It's a much more intense process, much more, it's a longer public hearing process. And so it is permissible for them to ask up to the CPI amount. And as long as the factors are met and they're within that 8 to 12% range, it's my opinion that the request has to be granted.
Can I ask if we've granted rate increases above the CPI amount in the past 3 to 4 years?
I don't know off the top of my head if we've allowed above the CPI over the last 3 to 4 years.
I think it was 10% in 2023.
Yeah, I just don't know off the top of my head. Have we?
Yeah, I don't know.
But when we look at the efforts they have made to provide the services, they've opened the facility up on North Main Street for us. And staffed that. People I've talked to have been pretty pleased with this level of services that we're getting, and we're all facing a cost increase as they are with their business, and their staff are going to need raises and their operation costs are going to go up. And I feel that 3% would be a reasonable response.
Steve, just to expand on that a little bit, I know there's been concern about nobody being in the office up there, and I've complained about that too. But here, about a month ago, we had a barrel that got broke, and my wife went up, and there was somebody there in the office and talked to them, and they told her, when they get it picked up this time, just leave your barrel out, and within 2 hours, there'll be somebody there to pick it up and deliver a new one, and they were. So that was kind of refreshing to be able to go up there and have somebody in the office. So thank you for that.
So I felt they have been responsive to the requests that we have made. And like I say, the services that I've seen and heard about, with rare exception, have been very good.
I mean, I myself hate to absorb another increase in monthly billing and all that, but the truth is they're no different than any other company that we support here in town or ourselves. So I would have to agree with the 3%.
I would also agree with the 3%. I only had one experience that was disappointing for me with Republic when I went up to try to pay a bill because the bill was due the next day and I overlooked it. And so I didn't want to get a late fee. So I took it up there. I took up a check and they wouldn't accept a check. So, but they did give me a postage stamp and said, take it to the post office and you've got so much for a grace period. But it meant 2 stops instead of 1 stop. But I still support the 3%. And I guess a lot of people are getting away from checks and they're doing like credit cards or debit cards or something like that instead of that. So I understand it.
Well, out of this, we will need a resolution to recommend to the,
We can bring a resolution back to council in a couple weeks in regards to the formal adoption of I'll put 3% increase. You can obviously change your opinion or what have you. I'll try to research your question, Counselor Howard, in regards to what you asked so that we have that on record for you. I just wasn't prepared for that question tonight, so I'm sorry. And then if passed, the rate increase would go into effect July 1st. Republic has some requirements in regards to their notice towards their customers, which were well within that timeline. So that would be the timeline as we would prepare the resolution at the 3% for consideration on April 28th. And then I would bring the information that Councilor Howard's asked for.
Thank you. I have one more question. I know they said not tonight. This number isn't based on the fuel cost today, and understandably so. Is it possible, I've asked this before, for a rate decrease when fuel prices settle? And I was told no. Can that be? Yeah, go ahead, Eric. Yeah, thank you.
So to answer your questions, whenever we do see reductions in expenses, that goes into our financial run rate. You know, for example, we did see a labor reduction. Actually, our overall expenses reduced by 44,000 from a year-over-year perspective. So we saw that in labor, we saw that in our insurance safety costs. So when we do see those expenses, that goes into the run rate and ultimately does favorably impact the overall next year projection and overall ask. So if we saw those costs increase, likely we would have had to have asked for a higher rate increase to support the additional costs that we experience. So to answer your question, when we do have savings in expenses, you do see the favorability, but there's not a direct rate reduction. That's not how it's ever been approached from their franchise system.
Do you think that would be in the realm of possibility? I mean, we're seeing astronomically high fuel prices right now, and I understand operating costs are going up daily. But, you know, if gas prices were to say half, and that's $3 a gallon for diesel, I mean, that's a substantial savings for you guys. Is it in the realm of possibility that savings is passed to the consumer?
It is, but I think not in the way that you're asking. So just to give a little context, you know, from a cost perspective, costs were $2.7 million. Our fuel was $161,000. So from a cost perspective, not as significant when you think of all the other costs that make up our total operating costs.
Shane, could I help maybe answer where you're going? So from my perspective, and I think staff's perspective, one of the things that we key in on is that margin rate. And so to your point, I think it would be difficult for us to come up with a scenario. I guess it could happen where enough drivers, fuel, labor, tipping costs or whatever could put them in a position where their margins were so high, say it would jump from 10 to 20%, that we could say at the time of our negotiations each year, hey, we need to bring this back down in line.
Right.
More likely what would happen would minimize or hold the price and let it catch up over time. So that's why, and the other thing that we have done on the staff level, as Jerry is aware, is our liaison from council is checking in with these guys really quarterly, but for sure, at least once a year. So every 6 months, we look at what those run rates are and make sure we're not skewing off so we can prepare for what you're describing right now. So I want to let you know that staff's trying to stay ahead of that with their help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, before you leave, I have
Oh,
one
sure.
more question. So with the increase, if it gets approved of 3%, you're still within the range of 8 to 12% with the target of 10?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, do you know what that range, what it is?
It's
exactly?
the contract allowable range or what the projection
It
will
says
be.
that Allowable range is 8 to 12 with the target of 10.
Yes,
Exactly what it is?
the 3.5% was projected to yield about 10.5%. So it's within that allowable range.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
3% is not what they're requesting, but I think it's fair.
And with the improvements they've made, what they've showed us on that.
And it appears the consensus of the council supports the 3%. Do you need anything more?
No, I'll bring forth the resolution for actual vote at your next meeting. And that would be the time you can continue the debate and actually have a formal vote as well.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. And moving on then, Mr. Gasberger.
Good evening, Council. Mike Kasperger, Assistant City Engineer for the record. In your package, you have a staff report for the Headworks Rail System installation. This project is part of our capital improvements projects and has been budgeted. This allows the Public Works to go out and replace their pumps by themselves rather than hiring somebody to do it. The wet well is probably about 38 feet deep. It's a real safety problem that could be, well, I hope will be fixed. We had 3 bidders come in on this project, 2 of which were good bids, and one of them didn't complete the whole thing, so we had to throw it out. So the apparent low bid was Bateson Enterprises at $71,354. They have done the project for our Plant 1 and Plant 2 rail installation. So they do good work. They've done good work for us, and we think they can handle this job for the money that's available. So having said that, the staff recommends City Council approve the intent to award the Headworks Rail System installation to Bateson Enterprises and the amount of $71,354. Are there any questions I might be able to answer?
So what does it mean when the Cascade Waterworks couldn't provide required bypass equipment?
So when they go to replace these pumps, they have to bypass the sewer somewhere. So the first 2 responsive bidders included the bypass pumping so that they could get down and work on the pumps. The third one, Cascade Waterworks, excluded it from their bid. So it wasn't a responsive bid.
So they would have to have add-ons in order to include that.
Well,
once they did the work if they were granted it.
yes,
they have
well,
to
what it
respond to
was,
the bid, though.
Oh, okay.
it wasn't,
So whenever you bid publicly, you have to respond to that particular bid so that it's a fair bid to all your bidders. So rather than having a low on like section A, so to speak, and then negotiating with section B, that would be an improper analysis, improper, yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
any other questions?
Questions? Nope. I would make a motion to approve the intent to award to the Headworks Rail System installation to Bateson Enterprises in the amount of $71,354.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the intent to award. Are there any questions or concerns? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the awards of $71,354 to Bates and Enterprises, let's say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casper. All right. Next, we have a consideration of Heart of Oregon funding request. And this is sponsored by Counselor Hutchison.
Good evening, counselors. Thank you for your time and consideration. Also, thank you for the counselor for sponsoring my time here. For the record, my name is Patrick Orr. I am the Director of Conservation Programs at Heart of Oregon Corps. And I'm here tonight to specifically speak about our Central Oregon Youth Conservation Corps. But for those of you who may be unaware, Heart of Oregon Corps is a regional nonprofit, and we serve youth between the ages of 16 to 24 within generally the Tri-County area of Crook, Jefferson, and Deschutes. We do that across 6 different programs, one of them being the Central Oregon Youth Conservation Corps. Got it, I think. All right. We are actually now in our 25th year or 26th year. Funny how that happens after 25. And many of those 25 years we have operated in collaboration with the Forest Service and the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council, with the Youth Conservation Corps program. What this is a summer program for young people between the ages of 16 and 18. Across the region, we are generally employing 45 up to about 55 young people. That's across 9 different crews at Heart of Oregon Corps, and then 2 to 3 more through the Central Oregon Intergovernmental Council. Some examples are hawk crews in Warm Springs, Madras, Prineville, Redmond, Sisters Bend, and to the south in Crescent. Youth are getting out on public lands. They're working hard. Anybody that's worried about young people, wasting away in a basement playing video games, don't worry about these ones. They are out working hard. It's not always the most romantic image of conservation work. Sometimes it's stacking sticks to later be burned, but they also get out and have some fun with some different projects. During that time, youth are earning $16 an hour, equating to roughly $4,608 across the 8-week program. Of course, the work is important. We want them to get out and build grit and character, work hard, learn something while out on their crew. But we also want to work towards just overall career preparedness and what's next after the program, whether that be college or going directly into a career. So we do that through having an actual career day where we have local employers and federal agencies come in and do a job fair. There's also a college day where youth take a tour of COCC. And then there's also a celebration day, a resume day, things like that. So when they're leaving the program, hopefully that they are ready for those next steps. You probably already knew this, but I am here to make a request of $2,000 to support our program this coming summer. And just to reassure you, we are out constantly trying to find other ways to support our programs. Aside from the federal funding that we get from the Forest Service, we every year pursue different partnerships, like through the Oregon Hunters Association, Oregon Conservation Corps, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Polaris, and then all sorts of local governments. What this funding is used for is primarily to support the wages of the young people. It also acts as a match for our federal awards. It can also go to things like having to rent vehicles, which usually every year we do get some from the Forest Service. We're able to access those rigs, but over the last 2 years, we've seen those numbers go from 6 to 7, now down to 0. So that is an extra cost that we are finding every year. This request is in line with previous requests that we've made. You all were very generous in previous years of, I believe it was 2019, helping support our the funding of our space at Ochoco Crossing, and then also in 2024, helping support this program. So I really appreciate your time and consideration, and for also the past funds that you've been able to provide. And I'm happy to answer any questions while these photos go on the side. Yes, sir.
I see that based on what you just gave us, with information on different years where you've asked for money, it hasn't been a consistent ask.
Yeah.
Each and every year. Are you able to get money elsewhere? You have enough capital set aside?
Yeah, great question. I think some of that is trying not to over ask and burn bridges. We know that there are a lot of great organizations. Folks come in and ask for whatever it might be, and so we do try and diversify where we're getting our funding. An example. Not all of those partners that I listed share equally. Some are quite large. For instance, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation was a grant that we got, a multi-year grant for about 4 years, and it was around $600,000. So a big win for us. That was great. However, split across 4 years and across both the Deschutes National Forest, Crooked River National Grassland, and the Ochoco, we can't just survive off of that as matching funds. So we would, I'm sure, come back every year and ask, but also want to make sure that we're not spoiling a relationship or asking too much. Yeah. Any other questions? No?
So I support, if nobody has any questions, I supported this because of the exposure that you guys give the young students, adults, to the natural resource environment.
Yeah.
And the exposure to the woods, because I think some of them have never even been to the woods before.
Absolutely.
They have this position with you guys.
Yeah.
And you provide them with excellent work ethics also, and the basics, and talking about career days, and like showing them how to fill out the usajobs.com. I mean, that's not an easy task.
No, it's not.
by
Yeah.
itself. You don't have
Yeah.
a mentor or someone to help you with it.
Mm-hmm.
And both of my grandkids went through the program.
All right. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, they learned a lot, and it gave them the proper tools to go forward.
Great. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. Are there any other questions I can answer?
No questions. I have a comment. Years and years ago, I got to work alongside one of these youth groups out in the Ochoco's and at a campground cleanup site. And it's a great opportunity for youth to get some job experience and be out in nature and fully support this.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hearing that, is there a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the $2,000 donation to the Heart of Oregon.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Further question, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
Carried. Thank you. Next, we have consideration of proclamation.
Say one more thing.
Oh, yes.
Patrick, before you leave, in previous years, they have brought back after the season was over with like a slide presentation for us to see some of the good work that they've done. So I'd like to request that again for this year.
No problem whatsoever.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, next we have a request for consideration of a Rural Oregon Community Foundation funding request. Mr. Holliday, President, and sponsored by Mayor Beebe.
Good evening again, Council. Steve Holliday, I'm the president of the Rural Oregon Community Foundation. We're actually celebrating our 5th anniversary this year. The main mission of the foundation, this foundation came out of the boardroom of the Crooked River Roundup. We had a board member, Susie Pape, that was just pounding on the desk at the board meetings of, we have to have a foundation. We need to have a foundation. And it took a couple of years to get it off the ground, but at 2021, we finally hit the ground running. And we're able to get it up, get it running, and we're able to start. The mission of the foundation is to preserve the Western way of life in Prineville, Crook County, and in rural Oregon. A lot of the things that we're currently doing, probably one of the funnest things we're doing right now is that we're in it's the end of the month. We have a school program called Boots and Roots. We bring down all the 4th graders in Crook County School District down to the fairgrounds and for 3 or 4 hours, and they get to ride horses, they get to stamp leather, they get to learn how to rope. Last year, we taught them how to swing dance. There was wagon rides and just a lot of things that, again, Prineville's a small town, but there's still a lot of kids here that haven't ever touched a horse, let alone ridden a horse. And that was such an impact to be able to put some of those kids on those horses. There was, they were absolutely terrified before they got on, and then you couldn't peel them off that horse by the time they made about 2 laps around the pen. It was pretty impactful for some of those kids. So that's probably one of the funnest things we do. And actually, April 30th at the fairgrounds from 9 to noon. I invite you to come down and see what's going on with this. It's a lot of fun, a lot of moving parts. A good partnership with the school district to make that happen. We've done a lot of donations to Crook County 4-H, FFA, NJROTC. We actually this year were able to make a big purchase for the fairgrounds to replace, I guess it was a set of 40 pins for the livestock pins for fair, which was about $25,000. We're able to buy a set of pins for them in hopes that we can, in either next year, replace the last little bit. Casey said we're getting close to being done. We're not quite there yet, because my kids went through them, and those things are so ragged that they need an upgrade. And so we were happy to be able to help that. Something else that we're starting to jump into this year, actually, we're partnering with the Bowman Museum. I don't know if you're familiar. There was a little cowboy poetry after the rodeo actually for the last probably 2-3 years now, right after the parade, I think from 11 or 1 to 3 or something like that. It was such a big hit that I didn't do it, but the Bowman Museum got in touch with another group, the IWCA, which is, I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but it's a Western Cowboy Arts, poetry, that kind of stuff. It's a national organization, but the regional, which is the Columbia River region, they used to go to Hood River, they'd go to La Grande, and they said, "Why? Prineville's the cowboy capital of Oregon. Why don't we go there?" So they came here last September, and the museum was standing room only on a Saturday afternoon. And I'm like, holy smokes, this thing's about ready to this wants to take off. And so we're going to partner with them and actually try and build on it and actually make it a bigger event. I don't know who's all familiar with Elko and the National Cowboy Gathering, just poetry and a lot of cowboy art, that kind of stuff. Tailing on what they're doing, because it fits here, and there's such an interest in that's actually the foundation is like, you know what, let us help you, and let's let that be a benefit to this community as well. Just doing cowboy stuff, making sure that the Western way of life in Prineville doesn't get forgotten. And so those are the kind of things that we're doing. The First, we've been able to give scholarships for 4 years now. Yeah, this will be year 5. No, I'm saying this is year 4. We weren't able to give scholarships the first year. The first year we gave scholarships, we gave $5,000 scholarships away. The second year we did $10,000. Last year we did $20,000. This year we're scheduled to give $30,000 worth of scholarships away to kids who, again, want to be a vet, want to go weld, want to do those kind of things that will improve and make sure that the longevity of the Western way of life continue, just those aspects. That's our wheelhouse. That's what we're doing. So again, the ask was for a $5,000 ask to be able to, again, we have our big fundraising dinner in June. And that was to be able to have a sponsorship for that too. That's where we raise a big portion of our money. And I think we've got our budget this year, I want to say it was 296,000 is what we've got, is what we're budgeting, is to be able to, what money's being raised and between donations and what auction items we can raise and grants that we're going out and applying for. So we're shooting for the moon, but I think it's achievable because we definitely we're getting a lot of interest from a lot of people to be able to, that want to support us, whether it be grants that want to help, just commercial businesses and just even private individuals. There's a huge array of people that have stepped up and supported us. So that's just my ask. Is there any?
You talked about scholarships that you've given away. Are those to multiple individuals?
They are, yes.
Scholarships?
They are. So last year we did 10 $2,000 scholarships. And I think this year, I think there's, I don't remember. I think they're sticking with a $2,000 cap. So it'll be 15, and we actually, probably last year, I think half of them went to kids out of Crook County. And then we had kids out of Spray, Mitchell, Culver, were awarded some. So again, it's actually, again, a lot of rural Oregon kids get a benefit of this. So, but the majority of it stays here right in Prineville.
So it sounds like you have a fair amount of money rolling through, but you're coming to us for $5,000 for a dinner.
A sponsorship dinner. Well, yes, there's a lot of programming stuff. Like I said, this Boots and Roots, there's a lot of time and energy that's spent on it that we don't have necessarily sponsors to do it, to help pay for things, but it's just our time doing things and investing our time. We have staff that we have to pay to be able to put things together. And
Questions?
Steve, I have to admit, I'm struggling a little bit with the idea because it looks to me like we're making a donation for you to put on a dinner. And with what you're putting out in the way of scholarships and all these other things, why didn't that money be used for this project here, this dinner?
the dinner is the fundraiser.
I understand, but we're
Okay, I misunderstand you then.
5,000 you're asking us for is a contribution. But I look at it as more of a donation to you so you can.
Okay, yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Seed
To the program.
money for more money is what you're at.
I guess, yes. To put it better than what I said, yeah, yes. It's the ability to go out and do more things. Like I said, we're paying a grant writer to go out and get grants, and like I said, it's just more expenses that as we grow.
I guess I'm kind of struggling with the amount too. I don't know.
I'm not being greedy. Beggars will not be choosers. So.
Is this the first time you've asked for this?
Mhm.
I mean, I wholeheartedly support the mission of the organization.
Sure.
I think it's necessary to give kids, especially in rural Oregon, the opportunity to sustain the culture.
And I agree, but it does seem like a lot of money to me. Maybe half that might be more appropriate.
Well, would you want to put that in the form of a motion then?
Yeah. I will.
Before you do,
Okay.
you ask Lori what kind of fund.
Oh,
balance.
That's always helpful.
You're on that.
You had a piece of that in your packet. You had $19,000 before this $2,000 request that's just approved. So that brings you down to 19,000.
And how much more? And this is for the fiscal year, right?
Anybody else? Yeah, I would move that we make a contribution of $2,500 to the Rural Oregon Community Foundation.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of supporting $2,500 for the Rural Oregon organization, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign? Motion carried.
Immensely grateful.
$5,000, but you got $2,500.
Like I said, beggars cannot be choosers, so I'm tickled pink with that. So thank
Thank
you.
you for bringing the request to us.
Yes, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Okay, moving on, we have next in this jumble, consideration of proclamation, May Foster Month Care Month. Marv Sumner.
Well, I'm in favor of this and making this proclamation. Social work is such a difficult thing, and I admire greatly the commitment those people have to doing the job of taking care of the business and families and keeping them fed and housed. And I'm not going to say everything's a perfect world, but I've had the opportunity to be pretty closely involved with my wife, having been a part of the Department of Human Services and meeting a lot of the people that do what they do. I marvel at their commitment. And it was a good idea that we support this proclamation.
So is that in the form of a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to consider the proclamation or approving the proclamation of May Foster Care Month. Discussion, questions, concerns? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And next, we have a request by Mayor Beebe for the proclamation Vietnamese American Remembrance Day proclamation, which he has, I might remind you, he has sponsored this for the last several years. I can't tell you exactly how many. And in as much as the mayor is not available to move this forward, I would move forward in his behalf for the proclamation to be approved.
Second.
Are there any concerns about this proclamation to be presented? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the proclamation to be presented at the next council meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And then Scott Smith, you have a COACT letter of support.
Yes, so it's not really a COAC support. Last Thursday at the COAC board meeting, COAC as a group voted unanimously to support this proposal that's going both to the state legislature and our federal representatives. And everybody's got this in their packet. The idea is for you folks to, I'll give a little background, but you folks review this and see if um, as a city, we can also support this proposal, and it has to do with asking for a large dedicated funding stream to make major safety improvements on the 97 corridor from the Jefferson County line down through Klamath Falls. Jefferson County, Deschutes County, and Klamath County have all signed on their commissioners in regards to this. We were, as organizations, we were asked last Thursday to share with our councils to see if everybody would do a supporting letter or provide their letterhead with the mayor's signature or whatever. Of course, Bend, Redmond, Madras, they're all for this. This would be a funding stream dedicated strictly for 97. So I can tell you from the start, I kind of question whether Prineville, really had a need to sponsor something like this. But the more I thought about it, many of our constituents utilize 97 also. And I can tell you with my part-time work, a lot of that driving is on 97, and it's just getting really, really dangerous. Another factor, after discussing with the city manager, whether we even wanted to present this to you guys, we do have our railroad junction over there in the adjacent to Highway 97. I'm gonna say that the majority of that, at least truck traffic coming in there for reload or whatever onto the rail, is coming from 97. So, we do have a little bit of a stake there, I would think. And, kind of the third thing is, I think if we would support this as a council, sometime in the future, when we may have a project that really wouldn't benefit these other counties, for sure, Klamath, or the cities, that, we could definitely ask for their support and bring it to their attention that, we supported something that didn't directly affect us. So, I'd be happy to try to answer any questions, but I would like for your folks to read through this. It doesn't have specific projects called out, and that was done intentionally because, like Chris Doty, Deschutes County Road Director, if they got too much into the weeds and projects and all that, it has a tendency to state representatives and all that start hand-picking specific projects that maybe doesn't go to the hierarchy of those safety improvements and that type of stuff. So the project list would come if a dedicated funding stream was found.
Scott, they've done a lot of improvements on 97 in the last 40 or 50 years. I mean, it's always been a racetrack to see if I can get by the people in front of me. And now that we've continued to have more additional two-lane both ways, it's become much safer to travel. Is this gonna do anything to expedite the process of making two lanes completely through both ways?
Yes. You know, the only project within our COAC region, which is from Klamath Falls to the Dalles, that is considered a major project on 97 for this year is to down, if you guys know where Vanderbilt Road is, down close to the Sun River exits down there, is to do another 3 miles of separated highway there. But that's it, you know, with the funding issues and all that. But, you know, this would be in the urban areas, putting in more, concrete center barriers to, you know, where possible to minimize that, deal, trying to get more separated, areas and those type of safety improvements, yes.
What I'm hearing you say is not specific projects, but a funding stream.
Yes.
And would that funding stream be tracked from other funding that otherwise could go to Central Oregon for other projects? Because we have some serious issues with between Redmond and Prineville with a couple of fatal accidents. You know, we have the intersection at O'Neill Junction. Are we going to still be able to get funding for that if dollars are focused on 97, because all of the folks are say, yay, 97, but what about the rest of us?
And I can appreciate that. And the intent is, no, that would not affect. And later in council reports, I'll give the report from the COAC that, in regards to the upcoming STIP, which is what, 28 through 30 year, whatever, the projects, and we've got a project in there and all that, that is being considered using the ordinary money. What this is asking is, whether it's comes from the feds or the state, a separate pot of money, sort of like we see and hear about down in the I-5 corridor, where there's a pot of money over here for I-205. You know, everybody else is still doing this stuff, but it's set aside for that. That's the intent. And, but, you know, that's the intent of this group. Now, can I honestly say that the decision makers, you know, our representatives in the OTC goes that route? No, I can't. But the intent is not to take away from what we consider our STIP projects that happen every 2 years and that. I have the same concern.
I mean, we have the problem that we never got adequate funding to do Third Street. And I guess I'm skeptical.
Yeah.
And that's one of.
And I guess if you guys don't mind, because this kind of plays into thing, you know, I let the council know here a while back that with Caroline and Casey and myself, ODOT had reached out for projects submitted for, you know, the next STIP assignments. And there was 25 projects submitted from our Central Oregon area, cities and the counties. Last Thursday, we actually went through those projects in an executive session prior to last Thursday, and then we codified it last Thursday with a vote. But we had to rank those the top 5 to submit to the Transportation Commission. And then we needed to rank the next five. So if the OTC takes COAC's recommendations of that top five, if one of those projects were to fall off because of some unforeseen, there's an element of stuff, a right-of-way issue or something like that, then they have that next five to bring up, or dependent, and I don't think we're going to see it, but dependent on, favorable project costs, they could bring one up or two or whatever from the second five. So I can tell you that the number one project for the upcoming STIP was 97 from the High Bridge to Juniper Butte intersection improvements. And what this is we have all kinds of little driveways and this type of stuff that come out to the highway, and they're having rear end issues, and all that. So some people won't be too happy, but that's doing away with some accesses, and then trying to combine some accesses to minimize that. That particular section of 97 is number one in crashes on the whole 97 corridor. And then there's 97 from Veterans Way to U Avenue, new pavement and signals. I can tell you, I go through that area quite a bit, and it's helped to dodge potholes and so forth. And the signals are terrible. Number 3 was transversible median from the top of Juniper Butte to Dover Land. So that's down by the auction yards in there. 97 and Highway 20 intersection improvements over in Bibb. I try to stay away from that particular intersection anymore, but it's pretty hectic in there. And number 5 is the roundabout at 126 and Pavio Highway. So those are the 5 that COAC is sending to OTC that says we want them identified on the STIP and we want them funded. Number 6 was 97 and Highway 26 intersection improvements. And then number 7 was our 3rd Street repave and streetscape project that we submitted. And I will tell you that, when you start looking at safety and that, I actually went along with putting the 126 and Poundview intersection above our project. I go through there. Seems like once a week there's a wreck. I'm tired of hearing about it, and it needs to be done. So those are being submitted with the thought process of these are going to move on, like the OTC had asked the 5 acts in Oregon to put together their stuff. This 97 funding stream is the intent is for it to be something new or separate and not affect what we typically do. But we're not here to make a decision tonight. We wanted to give a overview of it and let you folks read through this. What has they've shared this with legislatures and state or federal reps. And we'll see at the next meeting if we want to put together a support letter or not.
Scott, would there be an opportunity for the cities on 97 all the way through to have a letter like this with the commissioners on it?
Yeah, that's what they're wanting is if in any of the cities that agreed to support this, to supply their letterhead and, rather than the whole council probably have the mayor's signature. Like I say, of course, Ben, Redmond, Madras, they're all for it. Sisters have the same concerns as what we're talking about right now.
I think part of the value on this, whether we want to do this or not, but is to get your voice heard down there at OTC and at the state level for Central Oregon and let them realize that people are paying attention over here. And I think that means quite a lot over there because you go over there, it's all I-5. Everything that's talked about is all I-5.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and, Scott, I appreciate you giving this to us. Because like you said, the constituents, there's so many people that go over to Ben at least once or twice a week, if not more often than that. And it's pretty dangerous in a lot of the spaces on 97. So perhaps if something like this, if we could get they could get some funding for that, then when it comes time for the STIP, you wouldn't have all of those 97 issues in the future. And maybe you could get to some of the more local issues.
Yeah, that's a good point of view also.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree to that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or concerns at this point? Okay. Well, let's move on then. Mr. Forrester, City Manager's report.
Thank you, Council President Uffelman. On the public safety side, we want to thank Katie and her team for the work they're doing on the dispatch. And I thought the presentation tonight was very informative, and we'll look forward to continuing to get updates from Katie as things move forward. Right now on the police side, we have 3 lateral officers in background process now. Interim Chief Shane is working on updating a use of force policies, which is required by law and also part of our accreditation and best practices efforts as we manage our department. Also, Shane informs us that we have 220 students graduating from the DARE program within the school system. So that's a big number and a lot of hard work that goes into getting those kids through that program. Also, this is a reminder, about a year ago, Sergeant Tyler Takagi has been serving his country overseas, I believe in Africa. He's actually back in town, going through some decompression and recovery from being away for so long. But we're glad to have him back, and as he gets through orientation, we'll bring him in and get a chance to say hello to him and welcome him back into the program with his team members. On the public works side, the paving project part of the Ochoco Mill apartments have been completed. Rich and his team are overseeing bringing that into the city, obviously. So standards and specs has been a big part of what we do and keeping that up to what we will need as we go forward. The South Main paving project is getting underway, as well as a Fairview water line project. And again, as Rich and the team have indicated, there's going to be some traffic disruptions, and we'll be working to coordinate that with law enforcement and get that word out. So be prepared for that. On the railroad side, we've got spring maintenance projects starting up, continue to be busy on the railroad. Lots of things going on there. Tying that back to human resources, we are currently opening up a lead warehouse position for Matt at the railroad, and we'll keep that position open until we get that filled. That business model out there has been strong enough to warrant bringing in another person into the team out there. So we'll keep you posted on that. At Meadow Lakes, the men's league has started and keeping busy there, of course, with mild winter and some nice spring weather coming up. Most of the seasonal staff is already in process and on the ground at Meadow Lakes, and we're still looking for a few more staff to fill a couple more spots. On the IT side, the city's website is currently getting an update, and airport page will be moving over to the county's website as a continued transition of moving the operation over to the county. Police department will be taking the airport spot for inside a more elaborate web page specific for Prineville Police Department operations. And we'll give an update when we get those changes and go live with those projects. On the finance side, Lori's working on the quarterly financial report. Staff is currently reviewing the rate schedule for fiscal year 2027, and the Budget Committee's annual revenue sharing meeting is scheduled for April 29th at 5:30 p.m. Moving on to public relations, Sean Ray and I've been working along with the members of our team. Caroline helped me quite a bit on the water story. Is something I went over with council at the end of the year, some educational stories to get out there on why we're in a little bit different shape than some of our contemporaries. So we've been working the water story. I think it's coming up in the local paper, and some other media outlets are also interested in getting that out there, which we'll talk about, why is Prineville ahead of the game as opposed to trying to play catch up when it comes to water capacity. And then on the economic development strategic area, Caroline Irving's area, Caroline has represented our community, our city of Prineville, with town hall meetings from both Senator Wyden and Senator Merkley. And that's really important because she was able to get in front of them and have conversations around the Chrissy grant process, which we've been successful on, a big grant for the railroad. So she was able to work with our federal elected folks on that, and also able to discuss the possibility of continuing to receive funding through the congressional directed spending process, which again, we've been very successful on getting opportunities for funding for projects in our community. That concludes my report. Are there any questions?
I have one.
Yes, sir.
Probably be best dressed to Shane. On the DARE program and the 220 kids, what age group was that? And is it part of the curriculum or is it choice?
That's a great question.
I dared him to answer it.
So I believe, so the ages in the elementary range, we are trying to expand it to go into the other schools as well, but it's a 10-week process. It actually takes it's every week for 10 weeks. So Officer Kaufman, who you've all met, Officer Jeff Kaufman, runs our DARE program. And so he teaches, I don't know how many classes per week. It's a very frequent thing. As far as the participation thing, I don't know that 100%. I think it's part of their regular curriculum in the day. I say that to say that nowadays you can usually get someone excluded from some type of lesson plan or something. So I would imagine there is a way that if a parent didn't want them to go through it, just know that DARE has changed drastically from when it started in '83 with the Los Angeles Police Department to what it is now. It's had a big remake over the years. So I don't know that anyone withdrew this year, but we did have a big attendance just this last Thursday. So, but I can follow up on your question, find out if it's a participation thing or not, but it's part of built into their day, the students' day.
Just a piece of that. I understand not only is it about drug awareness, but bullying has become a big piece.
Correct. Yes, it's really changed. When I went through DARE, and maybe some of you went through DARE, it was the whole just say no to drugs, and we scared people and said drugs. There used to be an egg in a frying pan, and so this is your brain, and then it sizzled, and it's your brain on drugs. And that was kind of what that's how they taught it back then. And with the evolution of social media, bullying, or the things that I didn't have as a kid, you didn't have as a kid. They've updated the program, so it's much more on the communication, making good decisions, be it on social media or text, bullying, those type of things. So it's focused a lot more around that now too. So it went through a big revamp. I don't remember the exact year it did, but it evolved with our current times to what it was, at least when I was a kid and went through there. So it's a very successful international program now.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So I have one comment. So Shane, I want to thank you and Katie for bringing the dispatchers here. I've been talking to different police of chiefs I'm not saying it right, please, chief of police to bring dispatchers here because they're the first contact with the police department and how important that is. So thank you for successfully doing that tonight. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Very good.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Forrest. Moving on, ordinance number, oh, I'm sorry, are there any council reports? You gave yours.
I gave it, yeah.
Any others? Okay. Well, then we will move on to ordinances and ordinance number 1307, granting an electrical franchise, an electric utility franchise and general utility easement to Pacific Core for the first presentation. Mr. Forrester and Mr. Reed.
Thank you, Council President, Jared Reed, City Attorney for the record. Ordinance 1307 is our first presentation. However, we did work through this ordinance or went through this ordinance at a workshop 3 weeks ago at our last regular council meeting. There's nothing really that has been changed from that other than adding the language for the passage. It is a first presentation, so it'll have to be presented again in 2 weeks. We do have a representative from Pacific Core here tonight, Ms. Dunlap. She has been patiently waiting for this ordinance, I believe, to be read. So I'd like to introduce her to see if council had any questions or if she wanted to speak to council regarding Pacific Core's relationship here in Prineville.
Hi, thanks for having me. Elisa Dunlap. I'm the regional manager here for Pacific Power. I cover the 3 counties in Central Oregon, and happy to take any questions.
I think we were pretty thoroughly explained when we had our workshop, but any questions by anyone? Any concerns? You don't want to go to 12% franchise? No.
Well, the process with the city attorney and city manager's office was excellent. We have a wonderful working relationship with you all, and we look forward to continuing that. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
I would move to approve ordinance number 1307, granting an electric utility franchise and general utility easement to Pacific Core. First presentation.
Second. Been moved and seconded. Again, any questions, concerns, comments? Oh, then I will call for the question. All in favor of approving ordinance number 1307, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you for sitting through all of this and then. All right. Next, we have resolution number 1642, establishing the Southwest Empire Drive Reimbursement District. Mr. Blankney.
I actually told Randy that I'd be able to take this for him. So this is resolution 1642. This is a codification of the public hearing that we had 3 weeks ago for this particular reimbursement district. So this, you already approved it. This is just the codification of that. So you'll have to pass it tonight, and then I would move forward with some statutory requirements in regards to recording it so that we can track it and that it can be appropriately paid if that other property owner ever actually connects to the facilities that were put in by this particular, by the property owner that this district benefits.
Okay. Are there any questions or concerns? Is there a motion to approve resolution number 1642?
I'll move to approve resolution 1642, establishing the Southwest Empire Drive Reimbursement District.
Second.
And moved and seconded. Again, questions, concerns? Hearing none. All in favor of approving resolution number 1642, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Appreciate it. Thank you. Seeing nothing else on our agenda,
We have a visitor's appearance.
well, I know, I'm coming to that.
Oh, gotcha.
I wasn't gonna skip down to the adjournment yet.
All right, sorry.
Visitors, appearances, and requests. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Anyone online that would like to speak to the council? All right, well, I guess no one wants to talk to us tonight.
Steve, I just got a comment.
Yes.
We lost a stalwart in our community here a couple of weeks ago, Mike McCabe.
Yes.
His funeral was last Thursday. He was a commissioner for 12 years and a judge for, 16 years, a judge for 8 years. He put in 24 years of service to the county. Had a lot to do with involvement with the city and county put together and stuff. And I just think he needs to be recognized for all the good things that he did and the committees he worked on. And I know the Crooked River legislation, we all got to work with him for 8 years on that, which was a long drawn out deal. But anyways, we lost a good man. I just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.